When we wish to talk about unplanned or unexpected actions in Spanish, we use a specific construction, one which uses elements that we have about before in previous classes. The goal is to communicate to our audience that the action was not intended, that we did not mean to do it. However, this is done in completely different ways in every language. English uses implication. You have to read between the lines to know that the action was not intentional. As we will see, in Spanish, it is made very clear by the grammatical formula that we use. Before we talk about how to describe these unintentional phrases and how they come together, let's review some of the elements that we need to create these phrases. First, indirect object pronouns. If you recall, they answer the question to or for whom with regard to the action, or they identify the person who benefits from the action. So, in a sentence like, me dieron las llaves, the me is the indirect object. They gave the keys to me. I am the one that benefits from the giving of the keys. Next, impersonal constructions. You probably have seen these sentences even before you took your first Spanish class. We use these impersonal expressions when we want to highlight that there is no one person doing the action. It is a general statement about what one can find. So, in a sentence like se habla español aquí means that one speaks Spanish here. Or it can also be interpreted as Spanish is spoken here. So, let's put these pieces together. An impersonal action plus someone who is affected by the action equals unplanned or unexpected actions. So let's see these pieces in action in the formula for unplanned or unexpected events. Take the sentence. Se me perdieron las llaves. This sentence literally means the keys were lost to me. But in more colloquial or everyday English, we would say, I lost my keys. Now, in English, the sentence implies that there was no intention to lose the keys. Spanish does not use such implication. The grammar structure conveys the act of volition, or not. First, the keys are not animate beings, so the impersonal construction is used. This creates quite a bit of distance between the object, in this case the keys, and the person affected. Next, we need to show that the person being affected by the action, meaning we need to show the indirect object. In this case, that's the me in the sentence. Finally, the whole point of using the phrase, I didn't mean to lose the keys. There was no intent on my part. So therefore, I need to create as much distance between me and the action as possible. It's as if the speaker is saying, it wasn't me. It wasn't my fault. One note, just because the Spanish grammar construction conveys the meaning of it's not my fault, that does not imply or mean in any way that Spanish speakers do not take responsibility for their actions. In fact, quite the opposite. They take as much responsibility for their actions as English speakers or anyone else. It simply conveys the same implication that the English speakers mean, that there was no intention or volition of act. They did not mean to do it. How about another example? Mi hermano estaba corriendo y no vio la pelota. Se le cayó. Clearly, he did not mean to fall. It was an involuntary act. For this reason, we want to use an impersonal construction to create distance, to showcase that there was no intention. And while it may not seem like it from the context, My brother was the one that benefited or was affected by the action. This means that we need an indirect object pronoun to show that it was an action that happened to him. After all, it wasn't his fault. A couple more examples to show how this phrasing works. Se me rompió mi celular. Now, if you have broken your cell phone before, you know that it most likely was not intentional. It just happened. So we need that impersonal expression to convey that fact. And it happened to me. So that means that we need the corresponding indirect object pronoun. And as we said, it wasn't my fault. One more example. Ay, se me olvidó que había tarea. Okay, clearly, I didn't purposely forget about there being homework. It just slipped my mind. It just happened that I forgot. That lack of intentionality requires that impersonal expression. Again, it happened to me, so we need the appropriate indirect object pronoun. And remember, it wasn't my fault. Hopefully, after viewing this video, the unplanned and unexpected actions are more accessible.